As we get into today's lesson, I really just want to say thank you guys for hanging in with me. The other day, whenever I did our video, I was definitely sick and I was doing all I could to hang in there and get the message out. But yesterday was rest, hospital, medicines. I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm talking better. So we're going to try to do our lesson today. So let's dive into this. For centuries, science has tried to answer one of the biggest questions of all. What is reality made of? Atoms, particles, energy fields. And while science has gone deeper and deeper into the structure of the universe, there is still something it cannot fully explain. Something that is present in every experience that you've ever had. Something that is looking through your eyes right now. And that is consciousness. Because no matter how deeply science studies the external world, it cannot fully explain the one thing that is experiencing it. So today we're going to explore a powerful idea. What if consciousness is the missing link in science? And what if understanding this changes the way that you see yourself, reality, and the journey of sacred union? Because right now, you are aware. You are aware of your thoughts, aware of your body, aware of the sound of my voice. But have you ever stopped and asked, what is it that is aware? Not your thoughts, because you can observe them. Not your emotions, because they can come and go. So there is something deeper, a silent presence behind it all. And here's where the mystery begins. Science can measure brain activity, but it cannot fully explain the experience of being aware. And yet, that experience is the foundation of everything that you know. So, the limits of traditional science, modern science, has been incredibly powerful. It has mapped the human genome, explored distant galaxies, unlocked the behavior of subatomic particles. But it primarily studies objective reality, things that can be measured and observed externally. Consciousness, however, is subjective, and it cannot be placed under a microscope in the same way. You can study the brain, but the brain activity is not the same as the experience of awareness. You see, this is what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. Why does physical matter give rise to experience at all? And the observer problem is that in physics, especially in quantum mechanics, something usually appears or something unusual appears. It's the act of observation seems to affect the behavior of particles. Experiments suggest that particles have differently or behave differently when they are being observed, which raises a profound question. Is consciousness somehow involved in shaping reality? Now, this doesn't mean that your thoughts instantly control everything, but it does point to something important. The observer is not only completely separate, or is not completely separate from what is being observed. So let's look at consciousness in ancient traditions. Long before modern science, ancient traditions taught something remarkable. Consciousness is not produced by the brain. It is fundamental to reality itself. So in these teachings, the mind is not creating awareness. It is receiving or expressing it, like a radio receiving a signal. So this flips the entire model of reality. Instead of consciousness being a product of matter, matter becomes something that appears within consciousness. So the bridge between science and spirituality, let's look here. This is where things get interesting, because science is beginning to approach questions that sound very similar to ancient teachings. What is the nature of reality? And what is the role of the observer? Is consciousness fundamental? Because we are at a point where science and spirituality are they're no longer completely separate paths. They are beginning to meet at the same mystery. And that mystery is consciousness itself. So what does this have to do with sacred union? Everything. Because sacred union is not just about connection with another person. It is about awakening to a deeper level of awareness within yourself. So when you become more conscious, you begin to see your patterns more clearly. You become aware of your wounds without being controlled by them. You respond instead of reacting. And in relationships, this changes everything, because instead of two unconscious patterns interacting, you have awareness meeting awareness. And this is where true connection begins. So how do you actually work with this? It begins with something simple but powerful, and that's always observing your own awareness. Throughout your day, pausing and noticing, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling? Who is aware of this experience? Because this creates a small but powerful shift. You move from being lost in your thoughts to becoming the observer of them. And in that space, there is more clarity, more peace, more choice. So here's a practice that you can try just for a few minutes each day. Sit quietly. Notice your thoughts as they rise. But instead of following them, simply observe them, let them come and go, and gently bring your attention back to awareness itself. Not what you are aware of, but the fact that you are aware. And over time, something begins to change. You realize that you are not your thoughts, you are the presence behind them. And the deeper truth is that consciousness may not just be something that you have. It may be what you are. Not your roles, not your past, not your conditioning, but the awareness that exists beneath all of it. And if consciousness is fundamental, then reality is not just something happening to you. It is something you are participating in at the deepest level. So I want to leave you with a question. If consciousness is the missing link in understanding reality, then what happens when you become more conscious of yourself? What changes? What becomes clearer? What begins to fall away? Take a moment today to observe your own awareness, not to change anything, not to fix anything, just to notice. And if this message resonated with you, share in the comments. Have you ever experienced that sense of awareness beyond your thoughts? And if you're walking this path of awakening and sacred union, subscribe and join me as we continue exploring the deeper connection between science, consciousness, and the human experience. Because the more aware you become, the more you begin to see the answers you've been searching for have been within you all along. And I'll see you guys in the next video.